stand up to say, this will not continue, that we need to do something different. We live in a land where it's the rule of law, where profit is put over people. That's just not, it's not just. It leads to gross polarity of rich and wealth and poor, and that gap is widening every day. I just saw a statistic last night that it's almost 1 in 5 Americans is worried about putting food on the table, and we're supposed to be the greatest land in the nation, on the earth, and we're worried about feeding our own families, and each one of us can feel that, and we see it around us, and it's time that we're looking around like, please wake up. It's a call to action. We need people to stand up and become a part and participate in this participatory democracy.
Occupy movement has captured the public imagination. How does this movement relate to other social events in our past?
If I may, I think that the Occupy movement it's a direct descendant of a long and rich history of social movements throughout the world, and particularly in this nation. Particularly, we come from a legacy of the great civil rights movement, and I would like to attribute directly to that civil rights movement, as we are employing a lot of the same tactics. We have the same focus and message. It was Dr. Martin Luther King who, in a small town not far from here in South Carolina, during a SCLC retreat, who was posed an idea from the great Marion Wright Edelman, who talked about a poor people's campaign. And that was when it clicked, and he brought this, and it just became his passion, and he decided that the next phase was not only to fight for the civil liberties and the civil rights of African American people, which was so justly needed, but also for Americans as a whole. And so this Poor People's Campaign was to bring people together like we're doing today, what we call the 99% of all colors, classes, religious backgrounds, and bring them together for a common cause, and that would be justice, economic justice, and some of these same things that we're fighting against today. Unfortunately, he was assassinated before the fruition of this planned movement. But as we know, a few months after that, the people merged on our nation's capital in Washington, D.C., and you saw tents and temporary shelters being set up in our national lawn, in the footsteps of the monuments that are built to the greatness of this nation, in the shadows of the great emancipator set tents of people fighting for economic justice, for social justice. And so when you see us in tents across this land, utilizing our First Amendment right, trying to speak for the people, that's exactly what we are trying to continue, which is that legacy of greatness, and which is why it's so important and why we take it so serious. And like we say, the people united can never be defeated, and so we will never go until this goal, this mission is furthered and taken to a place where we can all survive.
What activities has Occupy Charlotte organized or participated in recently?
Well, this is one way where we've shown that the people are united, because we've continuously done things here in Charlotte on our own, but also in solidarity with groups throughout the country and worldwide. So just yesterday, we participated in Shut Down the Corporations action, which Occupy Portland put out a call for cities throughout the country to protest the ALEC, which is the American Legislative Exchange Council. This group comes together. It's made up of corporations and legislators. They come together, they write model legislation that then goes up to be voted on by the legislatures, and they produce some of the most notorious legislation in this country. They were behind the Arizona anti-immigration laws. They were behind the anti-union laws in Wisconsin. They write a bunch of legislation that pushes for businesses that are promoting incarceration, private prison businesses. So they are really, behind why in this country, even though our crime rate has gone down 4% in the past decade, our incarceration rate has gone up 19%, because this is big business. So yesterday we had a march showing our opposition to Bank of America, who is part of this ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council. And all across the country, there were other cities acting on that. And So lately we've been doing things like that, and we've also been doing some stuff with our city council. And I don't know, Jan, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about.
Well, basically, we've been kind of forced into really engaging with the city council, and as we've seen in light of the upcoming DNC, there's been some movements to suppress the people's First Amendment right. And I say the people because although it's specifically focused against Occupy Charlotte, those things are actually going to affect the citizens throughout this city and those who come here, for those events and from then on. So we've just really been trying to stand up and be a voice in the midst of silence when First Amendment rights are being taken away, our civil liberties are being taken away, we're being targeted unduly, unjustly.
I mean, I say too, some of this legislation or ordinances that have come before City Council and the County Commission have concerned us with how it might affect the homeless community.
Yes.
And so this is something that doesn't just affect those of us who want to hold signs and and vocally go out and protest at the DNC. These are permanent changes to the city code that we've been having concerns about, and we've had some success before these were voted on in somewhat altering these so they weren't as far-reaching as they would have been if Occupy Charlotte hadn't stood up.
And in addition to the anti-camping ordinances, you also have the City Council deciding to eliminate the First Monday Unlimited Citizens Forum, where any individual in the city can sign up to speak, and it goes up to an unlimited number of individuals. They back that off to the third Wednesday or the third Monday of every month, only allowing 15 speakers to speak at Citizens Forum, and the reasoning for that was one, the City Council wanted to spend more time with their children, which is understandable, but at the same time you have dedicated yourself to public service, and you are providing a forum for individuals within your city to address the City Council, and I don't think that it's right to take that away from the citizens. And the second reason given was that an average of 8 individuals had signed up in the past year to participate in these citizens forums. Unfortunately, for 2012, 33 citizens signed up to speak at the first Monday of January, and at the last citizens forum this past Monday, which was limited to 15 individual speakers, there were 24 speakers signed up to speak, so 9 individuals didn't get an opportunity to address the City Council, and we think that it is important for the City Council to revisit this change in their schedule so that they can open up the council and hear the voices of their citizenry instead of only being limited to hearing what 15 citizens a month would like to speak about.
Okay, I got a question now, and I have heard this a lot as far as from people in the community, as far as the campaign, and I know they made an ordinance as far as that. Okay, Occupy Charlotte you've been organizing a peaceful movement, but what about the other organizations who may not be as peaceful as Occupy Charlotte? How would they deal with that situation? Because it's like you said, I mean, we looking at, y'all have been doing a peaceful movement, but we have organizations out there who may not be as peaceful as yourselves. So how do we kind of like battle that?
I was just say, just briefly, first and foremost, I do want to highlight that we have been peaceful from the first day that we touched down. We stand in that long legacy of nonviolence in the tradition of Martin Luther King and Gandhi, and we have not had any incidents of violence or anything along those lines. As far as other groups, we are working with the coalition to protest at the DNC, and we're involved with many other groups and who have similar thoughts and mission statements, and they all are nonviolent. We haven't encountered any violent groups. If there are some out there, I guess that's what the $25 million check that CMPD just got and all the new tasers and all those things, I guess that's what that could be utilized for. But we haven't run across them. We haven't encountered them.
I think the answer, too, is not to criminalize the activities of people who are there to demonstrate peacefully. The ordinances that they've passed are clearly a way so that law enforcement can selectively enforce these rules. So if I see someone who I think may be a protester wearing a backpack, that's an opportunity for me as an officer to pull you aside, even arrest you. And we're saying that these type of things are unreasonable. The vast majority of people that are coming are not criminals and should not be treated as such. And this is a way, this broad use of things like not allowing backpacks, scarves, carabiners, Sharpies, because it's non-water based. These are things that an individual police officer has the awesome power and also responsibility. I wouldn't want to have this responsibility of being able to decide, what's in your mind and what you plan to do with that Sharpie.
Correct.
And in addition, this old saying that in a society that is willing to give up its rights in search for security deserves neither. So I think that acting on a potential threat of individuals you think might come to town in order to violate the constitutional rights of those individuals that have been acting peacefully and exercising their right in a responsible way is certainly inconsiderate and is not a responsible way for the city council to act and to make judgments. The other thing that I'd say about that is these ordinances were written specifically for a 3-day event coming in September, the DNC. There is no sunset to these ordinances. They exist in perpetuity now.
Permanent changes to the city
permanent
code.
changes to the city code. And what they're actually doing for that 3-day event is they are setting up any peaceful protesters who would like to come into town to be in immediate conflict with law enforcement. Think about this. Every hotel within a 50-mile radius is booked for the period of the Democratic National Convention. There are no hotel rooms available for people that everybody in the world knows is coming to Charlotte for the DNC. Every political convention in the last 100 years has had protesters coming to it.
Man, we're running out of time.
Oh wow! Let me just, if I could just,
Go ahead.
if I could just finish.
we
That's
have-
just gonna set up peaceful protesters to have conflict with police.
Sorry, audience, we're out of time. Hopefully, Occupy Charlotte can come back and thank you for watching the show. And you can watch this on YouTube. Paul Brown Show with guests, Occupy Charlotte. You be encouraged. Thank you.